Hey folks, welcome back to Designated Doulas. I'm Violet Hattigan, owner of Wild Violet Oracle and Wild Violet Birth Keeper.
And my name is Nicole Steinberg, and I am the owner of Forget Me Not, taking a holistic approach to end-of-life planning.
And we're here to talk today about becoming a doula. And we really wanted to touch on this topic because we've had a lot of people that have reached out. I know several people for you who have been interested in becoming a death doula. At our last doula cafe, I felt like there's several people that also had been really interested in becoming a death doula as well.
Yes.
So we both felt like it was an awesome topic to talk about and share, details and the knowledge that we know about the path of becoming doulas. And just to share a little bit of our experience on that journey as well.
All right. So I'm going to start off with talking about becoming a death doula. There is a lot, we'll say, conversation around this, and there's a controversial political kind of outlook on who should and shouldn't be a death doula. I'm going to try to keep it as basic as possible and stick with the facts. So it's not difficult to become a death doula necessarily. There's many different avenues and channels that you can take by being a death doula, and really there's no federal mandated certification to become an end-of-life doula or a death doula. So I just wanted to put that out on the table right now, that you'll hear a lot of people talk about being certified. You don't have to be certified. There is no federal mandated certification. There are certification programs out there if that's something that you are seeking. There's a ton of schools, which we'll talk about, and classes that you can take for continuing education for yourself. But I wanted to put that out on the table first and foremost. And then let's have you go into certification for birth doula,
Yeah,
and then we'll come
absolutely.
back to kind of some classes that you can take for being an end-of-life
Absolutely. And,
doula.
we're still very much in similar, situations in regards to the necessary requirements and certifications of becoming a birth doula. There is no requirements as of today, and I think both realms really want to keep it that way. But, knowledge is power, and having the opportunity to learn more can only further support you in supporting your clients. So there is no requirements, but there's so many different avenues, so many different, mentors, people who have been doing this a long time that have programs. There's also schooling programs you can take. I happened to take the Dona Doula certification, and that was just on a whim. I knew I felt called to start being a part of this realm of work after I had my son. I just really felt called in supporting birthing people in birth, and I had gone online and kind of looked at my options for certifications, not certifications, but just education. I wanted education. And that was one that just sparked my interest, and I went ahead and took that course. But that was just because I felt called to take it. And something I think is really important to understand is that knowledge is taught, but wisdom is gained from experience.
Yes. I agree with that wholeheartedly. The best thing, if you're going to become a death doula and you do take the route where you're going to be sitting with somebody who is passing, or helping families sit with their individual or loved one who is passing, the best thing to do would be to get out in the community and gain experience through volunteering, hospice or palliative care, really anywhere that you can, to make sure that this is really the right avenue for you. There's a lot of inward reflection becoming a death doula that you're going to go through, challenges, and it might not be for you to be a death doula, but I feel like if you're empathetic and you're caring and you can hold space for other individuals and be with them at end of life, it's a really beautiful thing. But there's other avenues you can take too. Just gaining experience through volunteering is the best first step.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you don't have to be certified to be a
You
birth
do have
doula?
to if you want to be a midwife, which I know we kind of talked about in the past.
Yep.
But to be a doula, no, you don't have to be certified. But I will say that there's so many facets in supporting birthing people in the pregnancy and the birth and the postpartum stages, such as like lactation consulting and whatnot. And so if you feel called to continue your education in any realm of that, there's so many different pieces that can only further help you further support your clients and what they're needing. But again, experience is a whole nother story too. So that experience you can gain so much from that as well.
Okay, let's dive into school a little bit, or continued education classes.
I was going to say this one thing. Just given the current state of the world and how they've put into place so many restrictions, I do know as far as birthing departments that hospitals are like really limiting their availability and accessibility to doulas, and that they've allowed space for certified doulas in the hospitals. So that is one reason why you might consider getting certified, is because that might be the only way that you will be able to be in a hospital setting at this time. And I hope it's not forever, but I do know that's kind of the expectation and standard that's been set right now.
Interesting. Okay, a lot of death work is done at home because I think death doulas try to encourage individuals to have a good death at home with your family and your loved ones, and not necessarily in a hospital.
Totally. And I mean, I had a home birth. I'm all about the home birth, but to be a birthing doula and really be able to be there for your clients, you need to be accessible to whatever that client is needing and wanting for their birth experience.
When I started my death doula journey, I looked online and got overwhelmed with all of the certification programs that there are offered online to become a death doula. And it was so kind of overwhelming, and I didn't know what path to choose, that I reached out to a really incredible funeral director in our area, who led me to a sacred passing out of Seattle, Washington. And I talked to Lashana with a sacred passing, who is a phenomenal human being also, and signed up with a class through a sacred passing. So I started my journey there. It was the most, I don't even know how to say this. I changed as a person by taking that course. I wouldn't change anything. It was an inward reflection. It forced me to deal with a lot of insecurities that I had, and really made me look at whether this is a career path that I wanted to go down. And they give you all of the avenues that you can go down being a death doula. I chose pre-planning versus sitting bedside. For me, that was the direction that I felt compelled to go. You can also look at the NEDA, which is National End of Life Doula Alliance. There's good information there. I recently took a class with Nipissing College out of Canada. I took a death, dying, and spirituality class as an observer instead of taking it for credits or college education. I'm also enrolled in School of American Thanatology with Colin Peary. She provides amazing classes from writing and literature to thanabotany, which is the class that I took, to thanatology, which is the study of death, dying, and bereavement. So there are courses out there that you can take for continuing education for yourself to put you in the direction you want to go. There's a lot of energetic workers out there, a bunch that I found on Instagram, actually, too many to mention, that will help you in the energetic realm if sitting bedside is how you want to do it. We do differ from a funeral director. We're not a competitor to any funeral director or funeral home. I just wanted to bring that out too. Our goal is to work with the death care industry and with individuals who are passing to make it a quote unquote good death for them. So just so we know, we're not competing with them. We're trying to help them. We're trying to assist and make this a smooth transition. And then also, we don't provide medical care to our clients. There is hospice to do that, and if you are a death doula who also is hospice, that's where the lines kind of cross. But if you are a death doula only, we do not provide medical care. We work more on social, spiritual, and advocated support for individuals passing and for their families.
Where do I begin with my path? I was really called to birth work after I had kind of an influx of maternity Reiki clients. And I feel like almost everyone was like, you would do so good in doula work. And I never thought about it before. I love babies. I love birth. I love maternity. But I just never thought I'd be in this realm of work. And again, it wasn't until after my first son was born that I was like, I really feel called to do this work and supporting people in their birth experiences. And I think about 5 months after I had River, I happened to just go online because I just felt the itch to do something. I needed to do something for myself. And I had come across the Dona Doula education course. And I'm really glad I did. I took the course with Lori Levy, who's based out of Seattle, and she was amazing. And I'm glad I took the course because it was so much more eye-opening than I had expected. In what was shared, not only on the physical body and the transitions of birth and those details that are just a part of the birth experiences, but they also shared a lot of education on the inequalities in the birth community, which to me I think was really profound and really important to share those details. Because if you are going to be a birth doula, you need to be able to advocate and support for any client that is drawn to work with you and vice versa. And so I thought that was really important because I wasn't expecting it. Apart from and also too different lactation consultant and working on different aspects of postpartum that I just wasn't really expecting in the birth class. And it was actually a 12-week course, 3 hours on Wednesday. And after I signed up, I remember thinking what did I do to myself? Why did I sign up for this? But I'm so glad that I took the time and I was able to put in the energy in exploring and gaining that knowledge. Because as you said, you learn a lot about yourself through the process and experience as well. And you didn't quite take a traditional avenue post course. And
No.
I felt the same way. Halfway through my course, because I'd previously done support energetically for birthing people, and that's what I was really called for, and also being able to advocate and support whatever that person was needing. I discovered that I don't necessarily want to be there for the birth itself. I was really called in continuing to support birthing people energetically, but also in the birth planning and the postpartum experience, and being able to help them get that all prepared for. And that was my calling. So it was just kind of interesting that you don't necessarily have to stay in that specific image of this work. You might experience it, take the courses in education, and branch out into a completely different avenue. And your work, that was new to me. When you decided to start death planning, I had never heard of that before. For people that were at the end of life.
Right, but not for people who are young and spry.
Yes, and so it just is really a unique niche that you were called to work in to support people in what is needed.
Thanks.
So you just never know where that path can end once you begin it.
I also feel like I should touch on that you don't have to have been with somebody who passed away in order to be a death doula. You don't have to have given birth in order to be a birth doula. Maybe you feel like this is your calling, and you have not experienced those things, and that's okay. I started out working for a mortuary service, so I realized very quickly that I'm comfortable around death, dying, and decedents. But I still, at this point, don't in my direction of death doula work, don't care to sit bedside. I can, but that's not the path that I chose. You don't necessarily have had to have been around somebody who had passed away or have these stories of traumatic experiences in your life to want to be there for somebody else going through this transition. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the same thing is applied in the birth realm too. You don't necessarily have had to birth a baby to be able to support someone emotionally, mentally, physically through their birthing experience.
Empathetic people
Yeah.
are great in this field. If you are a true empath, I do feel like you will run into challenges because you take on a lot of the energy of your surroundings. So I will say that empathetic is good. If you are a true empath and you do feel everything in every cell of your body, it might be a little bit more tricky and you may have more inward reflection to do when you're going through school. So just a heads up, I'm just throwing that out there. But if you're patient, empathetic, kind, and you're able to be there for somebody else on a level where you're selfless, you would be a good fit for both of these professions, I feel.
Absolutely.
And you don't even have to do this professionally. This doesn't have to be your career path. This doesn't have to be where you make your money, or you don't have to throw everything into this field. If you're one of these people that's like, I want to do this for my community and I just want to be there and hold your hand while you're passing away or support a family on your own time, that's okay. That's needed. We need that. We need that community outreach. We need that love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the same thing is applied to in not having to have this be your full-time work unless you want it to be in the realm of birth doula work. You could take one client on a month. You could take however many clients on a month as you want. There's so much flexibility in that and being able to navigate this space in a way that works best for you. Obviously, when someone's depending on you on a guest due date, there is a little bit of resistance in that space of not having quite as much flexibility because you do have to be around and be able to be there for that person. But there really is a lot of flexibility in that space if you wanted to do this even part-time.
Mm-hmm. Heads up for you potential death doulas out there. Your family will not always understand why you're driven to this path of work. So that's okay. And I wanted to just say that that's okay because you'll get lots of questions of why are you doing this? And it comes somewhat from a judgmental place. Just be strong and be loving and be kind and speak from your heart, and that will go far. I'm just throwing that out there. What's your favorite part of being a birth doula?
Just being a part of someone's experience, I guess, and really the energetic component of it. I love being able to hold space for another in such a vulnerable space. That's what's incredibly fulfilling for me, and then to be able to advocate for them and whatever they're needing to create the birth experience that they're seeking.
Cool.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of being a death doula?
Oh, I love working with individuals. I like having the conversation of, I've never thought about it. Or I think my favorite conversation of all time, and I have this in checkout line. I mean, I have this at the most random of times, but, I'm dead. I don't care what happens to me. I love this. Yes, you do. No, I'm dead. I don't care. I'm gone. Do whatever you want with me. And then I'll give them, I'll say, okay, so you're okay with this, or you're okay with that, or you're okay with this. Oh, no, I'm not okay with that. Like, okay. So what would you want? I don't know. Now all of a sudden it's shifted from I don't care what happens to me to, I don't know. And by going through everything you don't want to happen to you, we get to what ultimately you would like to happen to you. And that's, I think, one of my favorite parts is watching that transition happen with individuals that I talk to. They're like, what's your job? Oh, weird. I don't care what happens to me. Just throw me in the ground when I'm done. Okay, we can do that. You can? Yeah. Uh-huh. What does that look like? What kind of ground do you want to be in? Where do you want to be? And then they're like, oh, this is crazy. Like, well, I don't want that or this or that or this. So to me, I like having the conversation and watching that aha moment go
Mm-hmm.
over their face, and then it being comfortable. Now this wall that was up of, oh, I don't care what happens to me, which I think is a defense, has now, that wall's come down, and now it's a conversation just like we would talk about the fact that it's raining outside, and now there's laughter and there's lightheartedness around the conversation of death that wasn't there when we initially started the conversation. And it's something that's inevitable. So you should be able to conversate about it freely and it be a beautiful thing. And now we've accomplished that. Now we're having a conversation that was very guarded. And now it's like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. I can be a timer at my family's game night. And it's like, yeah, that can happen, and now it's lighthearted and fun. And my hopes are that they'll go home and talk to their family about this. Oh, I met this girl today and she told me how I could be a timer at game night, and I think that that's so awesome. And now it's a fun, lighthearted, happy conversation instead of something that's dark and scary and defensive.
Totally. And, I think that can really be applied too in the birth realm as well. Like really being able to discuss the different options that someone could potentially take, and switching the narrative of it being, something you're dreading, like having to give birth, and helping that person realize they can really have an amazing, beautiful birth experience if they want.
So we apologize that our doula cafe got canceled for the month of December, but we will be starting up again in January, and keeping our momentum going there. So we apologize that there was a little bit of a pause, but we hope to see you in January, and our flyer will come out soon for dates and who will be guest speaking at that time. I know a lot of you were looking forward to seeing Dwayne and talking about ayahuasca, and that will happen again too when we can. Everybody's good and everybody's healthy, but with precautions with COVID in the world. We just wanted to be on the safe side. So yeah, January we'll start that back up again. And then we hope you tune in next time for Designated Doulas.
Thank you everyone for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please like with the thumbs up icon below, and stay tuned for our next podcast next month. Hey folks, welcome back to Designated Doulas. This is... Sorry.